Hi, Kate.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Michael.
Hi, Shep. Hi,
Howdy.
Kate.
Hello. We're still waiting for a couple more commissioners to arrive. I have a couple members of the public with hands up. Eileen, did you have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Am I generally muted during the meeting? I'm eating dinner.
Yes, as a with our new format, members of the public are all muted until I call on them and give you permission to speak. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
bon appetit.
Chew silently, Eileen.
Yes.
Hey, David.
Hi, Shep.
Then I see.
Michael, I can't help it. You look like the timber frame
Yeah,
background
yeah.
that you're in. It reminds me, it's like you're in the belly of the whale.
Oh, yes.
It's great.
Yeah, it's one of the Isle barns in England. It's one of the great Isle barns.
Wow.
I like it. They don't build them like that anymore.
No, well, they could, but probably can't afford it.
No, that's right. Exactly.
I have one other hand up. I'm going to check in here with Nancy. Did you have a question?
Unmute. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's you. It's Andrew.
Andrew, yeah, I'm having a
Oh.
problem here.
You look different.
I'm it's coming for some reason. It wants to make me Nancy.
Well,
But you can hear me now. I don't know if you can see me because I can't see me.
I'm going to make you a panelist now.
Okay.
So you
Well,
should
actually, Nancy's much better looking than you are, Andrew.
This is true, Shep. This is very true.
see.
Okay, how's that?
We can hear you.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you.
And let's see. We'll give I
You
think
got a quorum.
Andy was going to try to make it. I'll
Yeah,
give him one
he's
more
going to be
minute.
here, I'm sure.
I see a hand up here from Bob.
That
Did you
might
have a
have been
question?
I had a hand up because I was trying to like say, hey.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure that you could hear me, see me or whatever, that's all.
Yes, absolutely. I'll call on you when we're on
Okay.
your project.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. This webinar format is complicated. All right, let's get started. We have 4 of us. And we know Tom won't be here. All right.
I would expect Andy Didio.
He said he'd come, so.
Yeah.
I'll start with the paragraph at the top of the agenda. Welcome to the Great Barrington Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's February 12th, 2022 revised order extending remote participation by all members of any meeting of a public body, this meeting of the Great Barrington Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.townofgb.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner. See instructions at the top of the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And for those who are joining us, I'll just say a word that we are now using a format of Zoom called a webinar, which means that you can see and hear us, the members of the commission. In order to recognize, to see or to hear someone who is here as a guest or to present, you can raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're on the agenda, I will bring you up as a panelist so that the rest can see or hear you. It's a little bit different than the typical Zoom meeting that you may have been at before. So I'm calling the meeting to order with a roll call. I'm the chair. My name is Kate Van Olst. Next up, we also have here David Shanahan.
Yes.
Hello, hi, good evening. Michael Lanu
Here.
and Andrew Mencken.
Here.
Okay, public meeting section. The commission is holding this public meeting to consider requests for determination of applicability under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, the Great Barrington Wetland Bylaw, or the Berkshire Scenic Mountains Act as follows. Number 1, an RDA from Mass DOT Highway Division. The property, is state highway right-of-way on Route 23/183 from mile marker 9.8 to 11.6. The proposed work is resurfacing and related work. Go ahead, Shep.
Yeah, this is a pro forma highway RDA as a matter of courtesy. The truth is that if resurfacing the highway does not require a permit, it's automatic. But as a matter of courtesy, the Department of Transportation files these things, and it's very nice because sometimes there's unusual things that we get to hear about. In this case, it's a pretty much straightforward resurfacing of State Road Route 23 and 183 going from somewhere in the vicinity of the Quaker Meeting House in that sort of area, running out past Lake Buell Road intersection, a little farther beyond that. It's a fairly substantial piece of the road, and it's standard resurfacing and lifting and replacing things as needed in drainage structures and all that sort of stuff. And that's it. It will be crossing some stream crossings in the process. So there's jurisdictional stuff there, but there's nothing new happening. So it's exempt. It would be a negative number 3 because of that.
Thank you, Shep. I see we have Mr. Raza here from Mass DOT.
Yes, this is
Good evening,
Amir
thanks for
Raza.
coming.
Good evening.
So, yeah, I think Chap already explained everything. Yeah, this is just a preservation of existing pavement, 2-inch milling and 2-inch resurfacing. So there is no grade change. And then some milling and resurfacing of road approaches, installing new hook lock frames, grates and covers, rebuilding of or repaving driveway aprons, rebuilding of drainage structures, removing drainage sediments from structures, installing shoulder and centerline rumble strips. I think this is something new because this is a federal project. So now we have to install rumble strips, centerline and shoulders as well. Then the pavement markings for bike lanes. We will be upgrading guardrail and treatments, replacing milling mulch beneath the guardrail, removing and resetting curbing as needed, and we will loam and seed any disturbed areas. All work will be performed within the existing layout. Sediment control barriers will be installed for any work where excavation is involved within buffer zone area. Yeah, thank you. If you have any questions.
Any questions?
Make a, okay, make a motion to, are we ready for a motion?
Yep.
Make a motion to issue a negative number 3.
Second.
Great. Vote by roll call. David,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Project is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Amr, I like your new red company T-shirt.
You know, this is
Yeah.
my son, my son's shirt.
I couldn't miss it.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
And it looks like Andy has joined us and will be on here in a moment. Coming in, good.
Well, we're waiting for Andy. I saw Gaetan today. He's back for the summer, I think.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I told him he should join up. You know, he could do it by Zoom. And
Do a little moonlighting as a
Yeah.
commissioner.
yeah,
Okay. Andy Didio has joined us. Fantastic. Next up. Item number 2, an RDA from Berkshire Engineering on behalf of Butternut Basin Ski Area. The property is at 380 State Road. The proposed work is replacing 2 12-inch water pipes within the 100-foot buffer zone of the snowmaking water pond that are leaking. Berkshire Engineering. Who do we think is here? Ah, there we go. Mike is raising his hand. I didn't have a chance to get to the site visits scheduled yesterday, but I drove to everything today, so I had to get to lay eyes on all the properties. There we go.
All right, I think I'm in. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Yes.
Oh, so the purpose of this, if you folks, I'm sure, are familiar with the snowmaking pond, the kind of main snowmaking pond. So south end of the pond, kind of towards the parking lot, when you drive in, there's a small structure. I can share my screen if it's helpful or not.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me just give you permission. Go ahead.
So south, that'll come up the way it's supposed to. You guys seeing the right screen, I hope?
Yeah,
I think so, yep.
Okay, yeah, so south end of the pond, this area, there's a small structure of roughly 12 by 12 pump house that that is tied to so one end of the snowmaking lines we're proposing to replace. The other end is the intake structure further north on the pond, on the sort of northwest corner of the pond. Between those two buildings, there's a pair of 12-inch lines, both of which have over the years kind of become a bit punky and have been leaking. And they're kind of the heart of the snowmaking system at Butternut. So the proposal is just to replace them, same location, same material, but new pipes. So there'd be 40-foot long welded steel pipes. The plan is to kind of to put them in likely 2 sections at a time, backfill and button up an area and then move on to the next chunk of line. So we won't have a large open trench here. The thought is there's about 450 feet of pipe. The contractor who Butternut's got teed up says it'll be about a week worth of work. The work would be all either there's a small grassy area down by the southern structure that we'd stay in the grass. If you saw that little dry hydrant, we'd kind of stay outboard of the dry hydrant, kind of towards the parking lot from that dry hydrant, and then follow up right along the edge of the gravel road. No cutting of trees required. This is just going to follow the same route that the existing steel lines are in. We'd get the road. The road is gravel. Restore the road as the work progresses, and if there's any disturbance to the shoulder, and there's not much of a shoulder there, any disturbance we'd seed it, rake it, mulch it, and give it a chance to grow before requesting approval to take down erosion controls. So I think all in all, from start to finish, opened up to grass growing probably 4 weeks, but opened up to closed up a week is the number we're after. That's the thumbnail sketch of it. Did you guys have questions or comments?
At the site visit, it's very straightforward. The only concern I had was make sure that the erosion controls are properly installed during construction. I mean, that's the only real issue, is just during construction, make sure there's no chance that the fill or bare ground is going to get eroded by a storm or something like that. But otherwise, it's very straightforward.
Yeah, that was my same thoughts, just that it's a steep slope right down to the bank of the basin pond there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, we'll keep erosion controls in place and keep an eye on things. If we get a big storm event that's kind of pending, we'll likely pull the plug for the day and button things up and not be exposed to one of these 3-inch storms in half an hour.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Is this a negative number 3?
yes,
Are we ready?
Yep.
I make a motion to issue a negative number 3 for the notice of intent. I'm sorry, for the RDA.
Second. There we go.
Okay, we'll vote by roll call. David?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Oh. Andy?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Right.
Aye. Sounded a little like a border collie.
At least it wasn't my dog.
Well, that's what my border collie says when the UPS man comes.
Okay, let's see. Up next, an RDA from Colin Kemble, property at 275 Division Street, map 33, lot 40U. The work proposed is constructing a single family house and related site work. Who do we have for that?
We may not have anybody.
Is it,
So this is the one where they don't have any plans. They just kind of want to know whether they might be able to build a house. This is by AIER, correct?
Yes.
Same side of the road?
It's so you actually drive up into it. So we permitted this property maybe 10 to 15 years ago for a house site that never happened. So you go up the driveway at AIER, and about 100 yards up on the right, there's a little road, and there's a couple of houses in there already.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this,
okay.
This is a site that's right. It's closest to the road. There's a little open field. And we had permitted a house, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, that never happened. And it looks like they want to buy this, and they kind of want us to say, maybe you could build a house.
That's the idea. The prospective purchaser has filed this RDA, and I circulated to everybody that went on the site visit, and I think to everybody else too. I'm not sure. The aerials from MassGIS and Mass Viewer map, and a excerpt from the septic plan from 15 years ago. That I
can
think,
show that.
there you go, done by Mike Parsons. Excuse the handwriting on the right. But this is the lot. That's the driveway to AIER coming up on the left, and then the little private road going in on the right, and the curved bit on that road is supposed to be a circle, which was never built. In the meantime, this is an open grassy field. There are, if you look down here at the bottom, there is this sort of, there you go, that's trees right there. That's big pine trees. And over on the right-hand side, connected to that, is more trees and all. And everything else is open grassy. Wonderful. There's an intermittent stream, which is a drainage coming out of Barbieri Pond, which is up to the north, which comes down just sort of through the eastern end of that circle and continues on down. And there are wetlands down below on the left. Thank you, whoever did that. Is that you, Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. So the idea is this: it's high and dry. If they can keep everything out of the 100-foot buffer zone, of course that's exempt. And if they can get the septic system in between the 100-foot buffer zone and the 50-foot buffer zone of the wetlands to the south, that would probably be allowable. And that's about the best that I think the commission can do, is to say that it looks like it was permitted once upon a time, and there's a good chance it might be, as long as they stay as far away as possible from the wetlands.
So when we do a motion, I mean, can we really do like issue no, we're not really.
All you can do in this situation is to issue a sort of an editorial comment in response to the well-intended but not necessarily conclusive request for determination.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's
are we
how
gonna-
this
and
is
then
a
what-
15-year-old map, so
Yeah.
that's not helpful, and this is not a building plan
Right.
that belongs to the potential buyers. So I think we could just say that, you know, what is
In
not,
all-
you
in
could
all
build something on the
likelihood-
area that's not jurisdictional. Anyone could.
Yeah, so so typically, so if we say that the property was permitted before, and if they stay as far out of the buffer zone as possible, then it's likely that we could permit it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
Yeah,
like
but
to see.
but no
new-
guarantees.
But right, but
A
there are
new-
no guarantees.
Yeah, a new survey and
Right.
then instead of plans that is relevant.
Right.
Right.
Or not.
If it's in general, if it's in general keeping with the previously approved plan, it's something that most likely we would consider as I mean, personally, if it's in general keeping with the previously approved plan, because we as a body, even though it's all different people, we as a body previously approved something that was obviously within 100 feet of the BVW, then I would say it's feasible. I mean, they've got quite a bit of land that's developable, but again, to fit septic and everything that would be required, they may be in the buffer zone. But again, if it's generally in keeping with what was previously approved or an improvement upon that, I would think that we would be in a position to entertain an approval.
I think we can issue a pretty solid probably.
That's where I was going.
If
Thank
you
you,
want
Kate.
a more definitive answer, hire an architect and an engineer and
Yep,
submit
right.
current plans.
Understand, just in light of Andy's well-intended comment, that is that a previously issued negative determination, or if you will, approval, has a 3-year life. Those things don't exist forever, because wetlands do move, and I mean, it's a reasonable thing to say, but still, it's probable, but not necessarily guaranteed.
Understood. Yeah. And site plans that were previously approved expire after a year in some jurisdictions and some
Yeah,
municipalities.
Sure.
But it's still, you've still set a precedent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yes, if they were to follow the zoning setbacks and the wetland setbacks and they like the size of the build lot left in that boundary.
As the animal scientist would say, if it looks like a fox and it smells like a fox, there's a good chance it is a fox.
All right, so there's that. There's nothing to issue or vote on, I guess.
Right.
Okay,
So what do we do? You'll send them a letter kind of saying that?
Yeah,
Jeff?
yeah, exactly.
All right. So do we need to close this? Do we need to?
Well, it's not a public hearing. This is an RDA,
Okay.
so,
All right. Okay.
No,
All
we
right.
just move on, right?
All right.
yeah.
Let's move on.
moving on to the public hearings. The Great Barrington Conservation Commission is holding these 2 public hearings to consider notices of intent under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, the Great Barrington Wetland Bylaw, or this Berkshire Scenic Mountain Act as follows. Number 1, an NOI from SK Design Group on behalf of Joseph Aberdale, property at 405 North Plain Road, map 26, lot 42.2. Construction of a single family house partly within the buffer zone of a wetland. Bob, will you want to screen share?
Unfortunately, I don't have the plan on my laptop. I wasn't thinking ahead, so.
Okay, well, I have it. I can pull it up here if that helps you.
Okay. So
Hey, Kate.
For the record-
Sorry to interrupt. You want a motion to open a public hearing?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
I second.
And we'll vote, David,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Okay, let me see if I can pull this up. There we go. Can you see that?
I see it.
All right, so go ahead.
So I'll start. Bob Fournier here from SK Design Group. I'm representing Joe Aberdale for this notice of intent. Property at 405 North Plain Road, Route 41. This is to construct a approximately 1,200 square foot house in the buffer zone. Property has about 150 feet of frontage and goes back pretty far out in this pond. The back 2/3 of the property actually in Hart's Pond. So the lot has already been cleared and lawn has been well established there. There's vegetation all around it. So our plan is to simply build a house in a buffer zone. We'll erect appropriate erosion controls at the limit of the cleared area to prevent, any unwanted erosion. We're also dedicating an area in the northwest corner of the existing lawn. Yeah, right in that area, where we intend to restore that area with some native plantings and trees. I can't speak to exactly why that was proposed. I don't remember, but I know it was a request of somebody, I think, from the commission. The sewer system would end up being in front of the house, between the house and the road, well outside of the buffer zone. And the well would be in that northwest corner that I mentioned where the proposed plantings are going. The only other thing we're proposing is a footing drain that we've shown on a plan that will extend, from the new footing of the house out to the very edge of the clearing, where we can daylight it. You don't even know if the drain will ever run. I don't think there's a water table issue there, but it's belt and suspenders. In fact, I think it's a requirement under the building code to have a footing drain, so we're going to install that too. And that's about it. If anyone has any questions, I believe Joe himself is on the line. If I can't answer anything, I'm sure he.
So when at the site visit, and we could see, so I guess first, just to clarify, so everybody can see, the 100-foot buffer zone kind of runs right through the front porch. So pretty much everything but the front porch is out of jurisdiction. And the yeah.
Whoa.
So it's just that area that's in the buffer zone. And
Yeah.
it didn't, I don't think, correct, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't have to really take down any trees that were in the buffer zone that were close. There might have been, or was it, or were those, there were 3 dead ash trees or on their way to being dead ash trees that would have to come down.
Yeah, the 3, I just happened to lose the screen.
Yeah.
Coming back. But basically you are correct, Andrew. There's 3 ash trees that are on their way of passing. There's 2 of them in this area here and 1, I believe, right in this area.
So they're actually out of our jurisdiction, I think.
The one that I pointed out to you was a dead poplar that was taken down this spring. The stump is still, I believe it's right here outside of the buffer zone too, if you recall the stakes that we had on the property. So to point out what you're saying, Andrew, This is the 100-foot buffer zone line. And we basically have some piers for what would be like the first level porch, because the property drops off there. That would be, you know, so the real construction in the buffer zone would be the well location, which there is a Board of Health requirement or a state requirement to be 100 feet from the septic field. So that puts us into the buffer zone. And as we chatted quickly on the site, the grade slopes away here towards the well location. We'll excavate an area here, a pit, where all the slurry will run into the pit and not towards the wetlands. Proper erosion control, silt fence, and hay bales will be installed, you know, here to protect anything that may go towards wetlands in a rainfall situation. As I explained to the commission, former property is Suzanne Bump and Paul McDivitt, and we were fortunate to buy it. The majority of the area was cleared. There was some growth up front here that we cleaned up, and we planted the arborvitaes. To mitigate concerns for the arborvitaes planting, there is a, I think what you call it, like a straw coil, a 6 or 8 inch straw coil that was installed along here just to mitigate any questions or concerns. And it is still there.
Okay, do we
So
have
then
any
when you,
questions?
Joe, you'll put in new erosion controls,
Absolutely.
right, when during construction.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And just kind of the game plan we're thinking right now, because of the permitting process that's involved here, is that I think we'd be rather fortunate this year if we were able to get the well installed, the septic system installed, and maybe if we're lucky, start on building later in the year. If it gets later, too late in the year, we would work on the house construction next year.
Okay, any other questions?
So Joe, I don't see it on there, but presumably you're a pump station for a pump tank for your septic system to get it up the hill.
Yeah, that's correct. There will be a septic tank design. There is a slight, like 2-foot increase here in grade going in the direction of the cursor. So it will be a pump station, but it would be located outside of the buffer zone.
Yep. Okay. And then your piers you were talking about are going to be helical piles for the deck, right?
Yeah, we'll auger something in, whether it's, auger the hole, put a precast in, or a pile, yeah, something of that nature.
Okay, I don't have, my main concerns are just during construction because of this, of the way the slope is sort of gentle here through the grassy part and then pretty quick down to the pond. Just making sure that there's no, stock, that the erosion controls are in place, careful stockpiling of materials that are excavated.
Yeah, I can't imagine the site's small enough that we would maintain much of the excavated soil on site. Any of the excavated soil that would be used for backfill, maybe we would keep on site in an area out of the way and out of the buffer zone. This currently right down to this point is actually mowed grass.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there'll be a portion of this that would never even be disturbed. So, we would probably put the erosion control down here and something that's easy to monitor, for any, water discharge that came down through the natural grass here and may have carried some silt here, we can clean it up and, or, replace the control as needed.
Yeah, so the only condition I would have is just when is to notify Shep, our agent, when the erosion controls go in before construction starts, and then he can just check it out. And
Yeah. And that's fine. You know, and I even had a conversation with Shep early on. We just asked him to stop out and, you know, give us his thoughts just so we could, you know, maybe hit on the head the first time we came through the commission. But even, for example, we're going to have to do a perk test up in this area. You know, we would still call Shep and let him know what's going on, even though we're out of the buffer zone, just in case he gets that call that says, what's going on? He has an answer.
Yeah, I guess my only conditions, which sounds as though it's your intent anyway, Joe, would be to ensure that your slurry pit is such that that none of that slurry is discharged, which usually is in the ballpark of 2,000 gallons or something. So just a big enough slurry pit, so because that when that rock dust gets all ground up, it's really fine. It takes forever to settle out. And then another would be just as a kind of general condition, I don't know if it's in our general conditions, would be to have some silt fence on the downstream side, downhill side. In addition to the silt fence you've got along the path there, wherever you have a soil stockpile, have an additional layer of silt fence on the downhill side of your soil stockpile until it's stabilized.
So for example, if we were going to stockpile some soil here for future backfill or over here, you just would want the downhill side just to kind of ring it with silt fence.
Exactly. Usually about 10 feet off of the toe of the slope there. And then if it's going to be there for a real long period of time, it'd be good to stabilize it. So get some seed mulch down on it so that it's not just open. But yeah, an additional silt fence would be good.
Yeah, and what I tend to do, you know, is, you know, in a situation like this, for some of you people who know me, I'm an old timer in a sense. Been in construction for 30-something years. So in a situation like this, if there's going to be a stockpile there for a long time, you know, we even throw in a layer just to keep the rainwater.
I think as a finished build out, I have no problem with the plan. And I know that you're very sensitive to the wetlands, Joe, so we'll just, you know, watch that the progress goes according to plan.
If I have one quick question. So say we go through the process tonight and you close the public hearing. How long is the order of conditions good for? Just so I know the duration of construction before we'd have to come back.
3 years.
3 years.
Oh, okay.
And 3 years, and then if you come back to us before it expires, you can ask for an extension.
Okay, that's perfect. As long as
you know, so like if you so you get the septic and the well in, and then, you know, for whatever reason the house doesn't get built, and it's, you know, you can come back and go, look, we're going to build the house year 4.
Yep.
Then, you know, then we can give you an extension.
Shep, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, if you do want to extend the order, you need to come back more than 30 days before the order expires.
Okay. I'll mark my calendar, but
there you go.
Not be around that long.
No, we just don't want to. We don't want to deal with 11th hour crises. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you and I seem to touch bases often enough, Shep.
Thank you.
-3, Shep?
No, this is an order of conditions, not a determination. So it would be an approval with
whatever. Andy, why don't you do this, because you had a couple of conditions.
We have to close the public hearing first.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
That was Andy with the second.
Michael.
Michael got to it first.
No, it wasn't me. It was
Oh, David.
David, yes.
It was David. There we
Sooner or later, you're going to guess me.
all right. Well, all right. Vote on that. Motion to close the public hearing. David.
Aye.
Michael.
Hi.
Andrew.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Okay, and then a motion to approve.
Andrew, what was your condition again?
To notify the agent when the silt erosion controls go in.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the plan as presented with the following conditions: that the conservation agent be notified when erosion control practices have been installed, that a slurry pit be sized appropriately to handle all of the drilled well slurry, and that supplemental silt fence be installed to protect the soil stockpile site on the downhill side.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Tie goes to Andrew, and we'll vote.
Okay, this time,
You can vote first, David.
aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Plan is
Thank you.
approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck,
Thanks,
Mr.
thanks,
Fidel.
Joe.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Any questions during the process, please reach out to us.
All right. Oh. Okay. Public hearing number 2, an NOI from DPC Engineering on behalf of the town of Great Barrington. Property off Main Street, maps 25 and 22, lots 5 and 64. Conversion of one wet pit, dry pit pump station into a submersible pump station and establishment of compensatory flood storage. Wow, what a mouthful. We have someone here. Jeremy.
Can I make a motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Second.
Thank you. David?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The public hearing is underway. Go ahead.
All right. Good evening, commission members, members of the public. I just want to thank you for hosting this virtually. Saved me quite a bit of driving here, so I definitely appreciate that. My name is Jeremy Bork. I'm with DPC Engineering, representing the town of Great Barrington and the DPW for the upgrade of a submersible pump station, as we had stated before. This pump station is one of 4 pump stations in the town. As the commission may be familiar with, a previous project that had come before you back in January for upgrading 2 of those pump stations. We had left this pump station off of that agenda due to the complexity of the compensatory storage involved. So I'm going to share my screen and jump right into giving you a little background about the pump station and the work involved in upgrading it. Let's see here. So we're looking at 2 ortho maps. The one on the left is the location of where the pump station currently is. On the left here is the existing fairgrounds. The old fairgrounds and Main Street is off to the right of the page. The pump station property is a small little brick building on a mound in the middle of this field. There's an access drive that gets to that pump station. And on the right is where we are proposing to locate our compensatory storage. It's at the Olympian Meadows athletic fields. The work area is outlined in orange here, and we'll get into greater detail, what is going to be happening at each of these sites as I flip through these PDFs. So the scope of this project is to, it's a part of a larger project within the town of Great Barrington to upgrade all 4 of their pump stations to submersible pump stations from a suction and wet pit and dry pit pump station. On the left here is the existing site plan and demolition site plan. In yellow, there's an existing brick building located out here in yellow, an existing generator on a concrete pad and chain link fence enclosing that. The inner brown line here is the existing property line, and the outer brown line here will be the proposed temporary construction easement for when construction takes place on the site. There's 4 manholes located out here that help convey the wastewater to the pumps, and then it's pumped through a force main that goes to the left of the page here off towards the treatment plant. So our proposed work, now located on the right here, will include the select demolition of these underground structures and conversion of them into a submersible pump station, as well as installation of what would be called a valve vault for underground piping and valves as required. The major part of this project is the fill that we are proposing within this floodplain. The fill we find is necessary to help prevent flood damages to the system and allow for adequate access to these pumps and the valve vault and wet well. As it is currently, the existing manholes are just set within the grass on a slope over here on the left, and we're proposing to raise the grade above those manholes to allow a flat area here. If you see this orange line is going to be basically the plateau around this pump station, and then it'll be graded out at 3:1, and all disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded. For resource areas out here, we have the riparian zone off of the Housatonic River, which is located 200 feet north on this page. And we also have a natural heritage, a priority habitat that runs parallel with the Housatonic River. And the delineation of that per Mass GIS is outlined here in this cyan color. So to summarize the site work that'll be taking place here, we have select demolition of the sewer manholes, fill to be brought in onto the site to raise the grade to bring it out of the floodplain. There'll be no new structures erected on the site. Any new structures will be in the ground. The existing generator and chain link fence are going to remain in place or be removed and reset as required. But we will have paving, an additional amount of paving on the site to allow for vehicle access for the operators to come up here, who have to come up here fairly often now to maintain this pump station. They would come to check the pumps, make sure that things are running smoothly, and keep things in check. This pump station is one of the, just a side note, this pump station is in one of the, I'm sorry, let me collect myself here. It's the worst condition of all the pump stations in the town, and it's in dire need of this upgrade. The current access to this pump station is through what's called a dry pit can. Within this building, they have to open up a hatch in the floor and climb 20 feet down a steel tube into a metal can that's buried in the ground that contains these pumps. And when these pumps clog, because people flush flushable wipes down the toilet, they have to manually take care of that inside this can. And currently this can's walls are caving in inside, and it's confined space entry every time someone has to enter, as well as just a hazard for anybody who has to go in here. So it's definitely in dire need of an upgrade. So I will move on to the next part of this project, which had my head spinning for a little while, but we feel pretty confident about it. We will talk about the compensatory storage that we have to provide for the fill that we're showing on this site plan here. And the location for that was at the Olympia Meadows that we had shown on that orthographic image. I'll go to the next plan. So here we are now at the Olympia Meadows. We have a gravel access drive that comes from the left of the page to the right of the page. And some of the commission members may be familiar with a hiking trail that was recently constructed in the area here. You can see these small little flags that start here at the Olympia Meadows and goes off the screen up to the north. We have the ball field located to the south here, and we have an existing power utility that runs perpendicular towards a branch of the Housatonic River this branch of the Housatonic River is an oxbow that currently has water in it. It doesn't see active flow, but it is hydraulically connected to the Housatonic River. We had Heather Comey come out to the site and flag the high water line in the bank. She had done that based on visual inspection of where the leaves were on this steep slope to identify where the high water line was, and the leaves get washed away when it had come up during that season. So out here for the resource areas at this site, we have the inner riparian zone and the outer riparian zone in pink lines here. And similar to the fairground site, we have the priority habitat boundary outlined in cyan. So the intent would be that the ball field would not have the priority habitat, and all the wooded area around would be potential for a priority habitat of species of some sort. So our work would at this site would pertain to clearing vegetation inside of these green polygons on the left and the right of the page. That would include 2 trees on the right side. And this is, there are some smaller trees in this area here, but the majority of it is just low-lying vegetation and it's overgrown. The intent would be to take a certain amount of material out of here equal to what would be filled at the fairgrounds at the foot increments as required by Mass DEP.
Hey, Jeremy, this is Andy Didio. I really apologize to cut you short. I just
That's
have a
all right.
hard 7:30 stop for another meeting. And this is the perfect plan to review. But wanted to mention before I go, I didn't see, well, there are a couple things. I didn't understand why, as part of the flood area, why we had, why there was fill proposed. And I know it's very thin, you know, it's only a matter of a couple inches in most places. And then the other was, given the area to the west, granted it's further from the oxbow, it seems like your max cut in that area is a little over half a foot, so a little over 6 inches. Seems like a large area of tree clearing, where that potential compensatory storage could be, you know, given the fact that you've got a 2+ foot cut on the right hand side near closer to the oxbow, where you could make up that volume in a much smaller area of clearing, and didn't know if it was proximity to the utility pole or that sort of thing. The only other thing I noticed was during the site visit was the area along the oxbow that was selected does have 2 really pretty prominent, I think they're cottonwoods, that are large diameter, probably doing quite a bit of work as far as bank stabilization there. So what the consideration is there, and how the commission feels about removing those, and then any kind of replanting plan that might take place to stabilize it.
Well, those are great points, Andy. And you know, there really isn't too much left to the presentation. I think, you know, that's a good transition point, seeing that you have to go.
Sure,
And
go ahead.
I can start off with just, I can address these questions for you and the commission. The area on the left is mainly so large because of we were fighting a lot with getting the elevations that we required for the compensatory storage, because it has to be done in the foot increments. This is the highest elevation that we are required to provide cut, and so my intention was to not inhibit any of the guy wires for this utility pole. We could potentially have this cut be more closer towards the utility pole, but I just felt that would be more of a hassle towards the power utility. The area is spread out because it's a thin cut and it's not a deep cut. As you said, if I had felt that there was a better place for it, I thought that I would choose that, but this is what I had come up with based on the elevations that we had on the site and the material that we were able to cut out of here. Now, as for the fill comment, it does sort of seem counterintuitive to have areas of fill. It is a way that things had just boiled down for my calculations, that there were some minor areas of grade adjustment. The contours are finicky. The calculations are not necessarily the most accurate when it comes to cubic yards. And it just was the way that it had boiled down. I can, obviously we can look into it a little bit more. But that's the reasoning for some fill on the site.
Gotcha. So you ran some contours and then ran a cut fill analysis, and it gave you areas where you had slivers of fill. Ultimately.
Right. And so a cut fill analysis in the drafting software doesn't necessarily provide what compensatory storage is looking for, because it needs it at foot increments. It's done through like an end over end area or conical calculation, which uses like the areas of the contours in relation to their elevation. So there was a fictitious boundary that was set for the existing conditions and the proposed conditions. And from there, we use that to compare what the volume was between each contour at each foot interval. And that's how we came up with what would be a net zero for each individual elevation. And so it was kind of finicky, but it ended up giving the values we were looking for with these areas.
Gotcha. And then my only last comment would be, aside from the tree clearing, there's quite a bit of honeysuckle. Just for those of you who weren't at the site visit, the western portion does have a decent amount of honeysuckle in there. So it's not like you're losing any major high quality, although it's well-established vegetation. There's, again, a decent amount of honeysuckle. There's some beneficial trees, but I guess one thing that we maybe want to see is a replanting plan on, is that a replanting plan?
Right. So yeah, this would be the sort of planting and mitigation plan.
Yeah, gotcha.
So where lawn is to be disturbed, it would be reestablished to lawn. Any area where, like we said, we're doing sort of heavy tree or bush clearing, the intent was to have it seeded with this New England Wetland Plants Conservation and Wildlife seed mix, or an approved equal. It's that the New England Wetland Plants has pretty high standard for their plants and uses of areas like this. I wouldn't necessarily want to propose any trees or high growing vegetation underneath the existing utility wires on the west area, but on the right area, we are looking to propose 3 cottonwoods and 2 red maples to help reestablish the bank stabilization in the area where the cut is going to be performed, with the majority of the cut being around 2 feet in this area. We felt that, these trees along the bank and then inland from that would provide that bank stabilization. And I just want to make a note that we, pertaining to this all being in the priority habitat, we haven't heard back from Natural Heritage yet on their evaluation and comments out on the site here. I have been in contact with Charlie, I'm going to butcher his last name, Quinlan. He had done some work with the town for this hiking trail, and he's been out on the site a couple times. He's a botanist, and he's going to be performing a botanical survey for us for all vegetation where our work is proposed and within 5 meters of that work. So and we were hoping that within a couple weeks' time, we should have that survey report back from him, identifying any species of issue. So I think that there's a lot there to swallow. So I will feel free to instruct me to go back to any plans if there's any questions about any of things happening at the fairground site, any more work pertaining to this here. I'm well open to any questions.
Just before I jump off, commission members, at the site visit, obviously it's an improvement of the condition of the, from my perspective, it's an improvement of a necessary improvement of the condition of the lift station. And, based on, and sorry, I got hung up on the cut fill and didn't see the planting plan. So from my perspective, it seems like it's good. So for what it's worth. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
The 2 big cottonwood trees that Andy was talking about, is it possible to save those, or are they going to get taken out?
So I believe, yeah, I attempted to try to keep work away from those trees. One of those cottonwoods being located in I believe it would be this tree here and what is called out as an elm tree here, I believe is at least what the survey had said the tree type was, but like I said, after the botanical survey, we'll get an identification of all the plants out there. But this cottonwood itself is definitely well established. We really need the elevation that is provided within this area to meet that compensatory storage. Another note would be the canopy on this tree is closer to 60 feet. And it is getting close to where if it fell, it may have some impact on these overhead wires as well. So it could be something that in time it may be an issue for the utility company as well, but it's it is necessary for it to come down for the compensatory storage in this area.
Should we, I'm wondering if we should just or focus questions on the fairgrounds section first. Do we have any questions, thoughts, concerns on that section?
I do not. I was there for a site visit with Shep and the engineer.
Great.
So
I
he
drove
did a
out there
very good
today.
job of
Yeah, I don't either.
explaining.
Okay, good. Okay, so that, great. So that section is looking good. And then back to the Olympian Fields.
Yeah, the only thing that bothers me is, well, I mean, you do have a replanting plan. You know, which will hopefully establish itself. We're going to probably want to see some invasive species control until things get established.
Okay. And,
The other, I guess the other thing, just Shep, we're not going to be able to vote on this because they're still waiting for natural heritage.
No, this is a continuance.
Yep.
Because this is a pretty heavily used, you know, town public site, I think it might also make sense when we get to final approvals and plans to post some informational stuff at the work site, because it's hard enough for us to conceptualize that, why are you guys taking away stuff over here? Well, because down the river over there, we're putting stuff in. So I think just to save the town and everyone a lot of questions from the public when we actually get underway with this plan here, it would be good to have some information posted.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point, Kate.
I'm over there
Real
watching a lot of Little League games. So
Um,
it'll be very noticeable what's going on. And then would this work be done by the town DPW or an outside contractor?
this work would be performed by an outside contractor. This the project itself is, this portion is included with all of the pump station upgrades. So the two other pump stations that you had approved the work for, and then one other that was outside of your jurisdiction, is all within one bid package, which is currently out to bid for contractors to price up for the work to be done. So it would be done by a contractor who has reviewed these plans. They've put, you know, they have given the town their resumes, if you will, for work similar to this or at the pump station, and the contractor would be selected for performing this work based on their information, their prices, so on and so forth. So whatever conditions are set forth within these plans or within any order of conditions that you would issue would be held strictly to that contractor to uphold.
Okay, that's helpful to know. You know, I'm sure they're very qualified at installing sewer pump stations, but when it comes to, I'm just thinking about the cuts that are on the towards the Oxbow
Right.
side.
Yeah,
Those seem
especially.
just a little more sensitive.
Understandable. And that's, you know, we have erosion controls proposed, straw wattles and silt fence. One item that I had thought about putting along that bank there was a jute core log that we could potentially put plantings within the core log. They're a lot denser than a straw wattle. They have a lot more stability in sort of reestablishing the bank. And obviously we have time until the next hearing to sort of discuss that further or talk about that.
Good.
Jeremy, can you give us a very quick, simplistic overview of how, so I understand, so I know that you have to come up with the same elevations in a different spot as to what you're filling over at the fairgrounds.
Right.
Can you just kind of give us a quick synopsis of, that's part of the state regulation and how it's kind of hard to match all that up?
Well, let's see how I can say this. So at this site, there's contours 669, 670, 671. Between each foot of those contours, there's a volume. There is also an existing volume between the existing pump station mound. If we take between 670 and 671 for the proposed mound, and 670 and 671 for the existing mound, and we subtract the two, we get a volume that we are adding between those two contours to this pump station. So now we take that volume, what would it be, 40 cubic yards, just say approximately, fictitious.
Right.
We need to now take that volume and take it out of someplace that's hydrologically connected to the Housatonic River. And so that's what brought me to this site here.
And it
So
has to be at the same elevation.
It has to be at the
the
same
hard
elevation.
part.
So it could be a quarter, like this site is maybe about a quarter mile upriver from the Housatonic River. So the reasoning for this site was we had the elevations to make it work, to get that foot volume that we required. And the property is also owned by the town. So there's no acquiring of land or negotiating with private property owners to make up this compensatory storage. So it's the same thought here. We take the existing contours. It's a lot more intricate here, but they all have a sort of fictitious boundary. And we get a volume. That volume is between 670 and 671 here is, say, 60,000 cubic yards. But then we look at the proposed one and it's 60,000 cubic yards minus 40 cubic yards. And that's where we would get the volume, if that makes sense.
That was a great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was good. Thank you.
So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to continue it tonight either way, but we'll look for input from Natural Heritage.
Absolutely. And
I do wonder, the New England seed mix, I'm glad that we have some trees going in. And the New England seed mix, I think that's great. I wonder about some, is it in the left area? Is that where Andy was talking about the honeysuckle?
I believe so.
I wonder would it make sense that we could get some planting of some shrubs in that area? Absolutely.
I think once we get our survey back for all the vegetation that's within both of these work areas here, I can sort of talk with Shep and he can maybe bounce it off you, what out of those species you would like to see, replicated or repurposed in this area to sort of keep to the natural effect of what's there existing. But yeah, absolutely, we can include some other supplemental plantings based on the existing vegetation.
Yeah, I'd like to see something go in, whether it be shrubs or sort of like pollinator friendly plants or something that has a little more structure to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But altogether, good work. That I can see how that took a lot of mental gymnastics to figure out those cuts and fills up the river there. So altogether a good and much needed plan, it sounds like, for that pump station.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So make a motion to continue the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. And we'll vote on that. David,
All right.
Michael,
Hi.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So we should be back here again next month.
All right, great. Well,
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, where is my agenda? There we go. Okay. All right, we opened a public hearing and we closed it. We opened a public hearing and we continued it. Now on to discussion. Item 1, a draft letter summarizing the Commission's November 29th, 2021 site visit to several properties within the mapped scenic mountain area along Castle Hill Avenue, continued from February 23rd, 2022.
I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Oh, did we lose David?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's see. I don't see him. Oh, here we go. He's here, but he's as a he's a attendee. Let's see. He should be joining us again momentarily. Oh, there we go.
He's muted. There he is.
Hey, okay.
Well, I don't know what happened,
I don't know what happened either, but we're glad you're back.
but Andrew's gone now.
I think we can hear him, hopefully, but not see him.
Well, he may.
Oh yeah,
be there.
Andrew has recused himself.
Oh, that's right. So now we're looking at Nancy, which is fine.
Now there are 3 of us.
No, it's only a discussion.
Great. We're just discussing. I read the letter. Thank you, Shep. Very thorough. A lot of hard work obviously went into that.
Thank you. Yeah, for those of you who may not have seen it or read it yet, I did distribute the draft letter this afternoon. When you eventually open it up and read it, please, any thoughts, suggestions, edits, criticisms will be gratefully accepted. Just let me know.
So that was emailed?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I can't wait. I would love to see this go away.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll second that motion.
Yeah. The only thought that I keep having is that, suppose we went and saw a clear scenic mountain violation. What would we do? We'd issue.
That's easy.
Yeah, and then we'd have them plant some trees, right?
Or whatever, yeah.
That's been done. More trees have been planted than removed from the site. So it
Absolutely.
is sort of.
No doubt about it.
There's nothing that we would do or enforce at this point.
No, absolutely not.
So that, we've looked into it. There are no action steps that need to be taken at this point.
No.
Okay.
But we've given it due diligence.
Yeah, and I tried in that draft to do a little educating about what Scenic Mountain is and isn't. And I'm not sure I succeeded, but because when confronted with an advocate that's got an axe to grind, if you will, oftentimes you're confronted with somebody that loses sight of what the regulation really says, and they just want to use it as a hammer. And
we occasionally go through that.
I tried to be polite and at the same time firm, or shall we say regulatory. And let me know what you think.
I think you struck that note perfectly. We can only enforce the letter of the regulation.
Yeah.
And looking at the site and the regulations, there's nothing for us to enforce.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you all have it. Everybody has it, and please you send me comments, and we'll polish it up.
Fantastic. Item number 2, recommended revisions from the town planning department to chapter 217-14.1, 217-14.5, and 217.15 of the Great Barrington Wetland regulations as circulated to the commission. I have gonna pull this up. I had it. Patience. Okay, well, I have it. That red and green thing was helpful. Did it come
Very.
from? Why? Oh, here we go. Is this? No. Bear with me. In the meantime, if anyone has wants to start any discussion, I thought that looked good, that cutting the red, obviously we have to do that to fall in line with the revisions that have already been made, and that keeping both of those green areas moved that 500, we want, it sounds like from the discussion we had last time, to keep jurisdiction over the 500 feet from water sources. And by keeping the language in green, it sounded like that was being sort of reorganized under what we already have jurisdiction over in the wetland bylaw. Thank you. Go ahead, Shep.
Yeah, Andrew and I had a bit of a conversation about this, I don't know, yesterday, day before. Basically, the choice is this. You have today a 200-foot riverfront resource area adjacent to all of these streams and rivers. There you go. If you keep the 500-foot distance, basically what you're doing is extending the riverfront resource area out to 500 feet from 200 feet on those rivers and streams, okay? What that means for you as the commission is that you need to treat applications that come to you for alteration, for work to be done, for projects, whatever, within that 500 feet. You have to treat them the same way you treat applications within the current 200-foot riverfront resource area. What that means is that they have to be notices of intent, which is the expensive filing. That's the fully engineered permit application, if you will. And if you can take that heat and you feel strongly enough about protecting those waters with a 500-foot riverfront resource area instead of a 200-foot riverfront resource area, then so be it. That's where you are. And you just stand firm, and that's what the rules are. The whole point is that you're protecting the water source down at the galleries, period.
And it doesn't mean that we can't permit things in that 500 feet.
Right, it's not yet,
It's
right,
just
good
that
point.
it's just that we, there's an extra level of oversight or extra level of us taking a look at it to make sure that it's not going to affect the water supply.
Yes, that's and also there's an extra level of specificity required on the part of applicants in their submission. You can't, it's not just a sketch on the back of an envelope. It's not just a 4-page RDA. This is, this is a full-blown, expensive notice of intent with all the public hearing and the enforceable order of conditions and everything else that go with it.
I was just gonna say that the difference between an engineering study and the sort of napkin doodle that we can accept for an RDA seems like extremely important when we're talking about our only water supplies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's also potential supplies, the way this is worded. If the town were to, at some point, finally find that second source, this would automatically protect it, the way it's worded. Because it says any public or private water supply.
Oh, yeah.
So automatically we're protected. If we don't leave this in there, we're not protected that way. But can I just, there's something that I'm concerned about that almost was a problem for the town. And it was this kind of circumstance. The Tarasevich property on Seekonk Road. We denied, I believe it was a septic system, and it also had to do with the next door neighbor not wanting things done in a certain way. And the people were left with only the area that was actually part of the Water Quality Protection District. They sued the town, or were going to. Maybe Shep remembers something about this. And we put a safety valve into the Great Barrington Code, saying that under extreme circumstances, somebody could apply for an exception to that, and that quelled the lawsuit. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. If we're going to protect this 500-foot distance, which I'm totally in agreement on, I just want everybody to realize that it could end up being another one of those situations if we don't still have that safety valve in the language. And I don't know if anybody really knows that. It should have stayed there, but that was a number of years ago.
Well, I think that's a great point, David. And I think it also goes to what Andrew said a few minutes ago, which is that we can still permit work to be done within that 500 feet. And to my mind, if we're going to permit work done within those 500 feet, I'd rather have a recent professional survey done delineating what the wetlands and the work. That would make me feel more comfortable than the napkin doodle.
Yeah, I think we're all of the same mind about this. I didn't mean to bore everybody to death, but it's just something that came up previously and could have put the town in a very bad position. And luckily, there was able to make a change to the Great Barrington Code without involving the selectmen, because it was a regulation, not a law. I'm assuming that's how it happened. And again, I don't know if anybody remembers all, but within 30 days, one meeting to another meeting, the thing was all over.
Yeah.
You remember anything about that, Shep?
No, that was before my time, David.
Oh, okay.
That's why we keep you around, David, for the history. Because you remember every tree and when it was planted.
You're looking a little gray around the edges, David.
But I really remember that particular case because at that point I was getting the Massachusetts Conservation Commission Association mailings, the newsletter. And at the same time all this was going on, there was an article that somebody wrote that said, make sure that your town has a safety valve in their regulations.
Hmm.
And the point was made, DEP does. The safety valve is you can talk to the guy that's the head of the DEP. You just got to wait 5 years, but but you understand what I'm saying. There, at some point, somebody has to say, no, it's not going to work. And, you know, and then if it's a municipality, they can get sued for a taking because the property is a building lot, but it's suddenly not buildable. I'm sorry, I talked too much about this.
If I may,
Yeah,
where am I? Kate,
Go ahead.
I want to make a point. Very dangerous word, building lot. Very dangerous.
Hmm.
From a legal perspective, I see it again and again and again. 40 years in real estate, I've seen it again and again and again. People want to know if it's a building lot. If it's in a town code somewhere that says building lot, it implies that it's buildable. And that does not mean that it perks or that it's not in wetland or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a semantic problem that nobody really has ever focused seriously on. And anyway, I'll highlight that.
You're very right to bring that up, Shep.
Yeah, I know, but you'd be hard pressed to convince. You'd be hard pressed to convince the planning board or the assessor, particularly the assessor, that that's something that should be addressed.
So do we want to vote on this now?
No.
No,
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't. Do you have a quorum? Maybe you do.
we do.
Yeah, 4.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go for it.
So-
I made my point. That's all I was asking for. So
So what
let's go for it.
this is what I'm gonna do, and you guys tell me if it's okay. So I'll make a motion that we follow the advice of the town planner and delete the red part of the regulation and
Yep.
keep the green part of the regulation. Is that good enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion that we follow the advice of the town planner, delete the red part, which refers to the overlay district, the zoning overlay district, and we keep the green part of the regulation that refers to our 500-foot area for the, yes, Shep. Go ahead.
I'd make a suggestion that we change the word advice to suggestion
Suggestion. We follow the suggestion.
of the town planner.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Yep. All right. Am I done?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
David is the second. And we'll vote. David,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Okay.
Thanks to Chris.
Discussion number 3, a request from Ben Nickley of Green Berkshires LLC to install and maintain a Kestrel nesting box in the open meadow at Mcallister Wildlife Refuge.
So I did some research because I was worried that the kestrels were going to eat the bobolinks.
What do
And
you know?
I'm sorry.
And so I contacted 2 people. I contacted both Greg Ward and I also contacted Rich Guthrie, who is the bird guy on WAMC. He got right back to me, and he said both Greg and he said that the kestrels will not bother the bobolinks. They're not going to go after the bobolinks for food. And actually, the kestrels might be a benefit to the bobolinks because they do go after rodents and the mice can go after the eggs of the bobolinks.
I've heard that.
So if we can, so if the kestrels take out some mice that are eating bobolink eggs, that's a good thing.
See, maybe we need some hawks in there too.
Well, those might take out the bobolinks. The kestrels are small enough.
They're beautiful little falcons.
Yeah, and
They
Greg
really are.
Ward said there's 20 bobolinks up there. They haven't
Yeah.
they're gonna count next week. They're going to go and count next week, he thinks.
Yeah. I saw them about 3 weeks ago. I saw bobolinks in the meadow very early. They're very happy.
So I'm in favor of kestrel boxes.
Yep.
Great. Want to make a motion about it? Do we need to vote on this or?
Do we
Yes.
vote on this, Shep?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
I make a motion that we let who is it?
Green Berkshires.
That we let Green Berkshires install kestrel box
And maintain.
and maintain it.
Yes.
Install and maintain.
Second.
Thank you, David. All right, we'll vote on that. David,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Andrew,
All right.
and I from me. Great. Kestrel boxes, fantastic. Okay, 4, should the town opt out of the state mosquito control spraying program?
Yes,
Yep,
absolutely.
Yes, I
great,
agree.
done. Don't spray anything anywhere, please.
Madam Chairman, may I explain?
Go ahead.
In the old days, that's, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, up until 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, the state funded mosquito spraying program with a sprayer that went around in sort of wetland areas and wet neighborhoods and waterfront properties and other places, spraying. It was necessary for a town to sign on to the program in order to be included. And for whatever reason, whether it was a result of lobbying effort or whatever, 3, 4, 5 years ago, they flipped it the other way, in that every town was included. It may have been a budgetary fight, I don't know, because they were always starved for money. Every town was included unless they opted out. Now, there is considerable sentiment, so that's the situation right now. And the question has been raised, should the town opt out? Or do you want the spraying wagon to go around all the areas where there's streams and wetlands and whatever and spray bug dope, in your neighborhood? There is considerable sentiment that mosquito spraying doesn't really effectively get rid of mosquitoes. It may kill a few, it may drive some away, but it's not really getting to the issue. If you wanted to get to the issue, you would deal with the environment in which mosquitoes breed and do something about that to reduce the population, rather than just spraying bug dope in the neighborhood for people and pets and everybody else to breathe. So there is considerable thought among responsible environmental people that the town should opt out. And there is I think the Board of Health feels that way. I don't know whether they've expressed it yet or not, but I know that the sentiment is there. Michael may know more about that. But yeah, I think it's the request has been made that the Conservation Commission consider this from an environmental perspective, not that we have jurisdiction or anything, but just because the commission is environmentally responsible. And if they have a recommendation to make to the Board of Selectmen, who make the ultimate decision, would they please make it? Actually, the question has been proposed to the select board this past week, I think, and they're due to make a decision next week or the week after.
Eileen Mooney's saying that they've already decided to opt out.
I beg your pardon?
Eileen Mooney says that they've already voted to opt out.
Well, okay. So we have reason to believe that they might be going to opt out.
Yeah, they already have.
On Monday, we presented, the health agent presented to the select board, and they voted to opt out of all spraying on Monday. So I at our last meeting, I said, you know, the Concom should be made aware if they're not already. And just the way the meetings fall, we couldn't get an official letter, but it seemed like they just kind of went right through and no one raised their hand in favor of spraying.
Except for me.
Except for you?
I've got a postcard right here that every horse owner in Massachusetts got. And it's about mosquito-borne disease and the
It's
warning.
the equine encephalitis. Yeah.
It's not just that, it's West Nile too. Now, I believe people can get both, although it's rare. But the warning is for horse people. So I can't totally agree with not doing any spraying. And I'm going to say this. When I was a kid, they sprayed so much, they covered the entire town. The right-of-way out here that crosses my property that was Berkshire Street Railway, they used to drive the pickup truck down that and spray into the woods. And I never heard a thing about anybody getting sick or anything like that. Yes, close your windows when the truck comes through on your street. That's all I'm going to say. There's more to this than just the environment, because it's a question of public safety also. Now, I've said enough. If there's anybody in town that agrees with me, that's pretty obvious. So, but I had to say what I had to say because the animals can't speak for themselves.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you for thanking me, Shep. It's great we can disagree and still be.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree. I just said that I would make the point and let the commission decide.
So
Yeah,
do we
but
need
your-
to do
your
anything now
opinion
that
on
the
the matter-
town's already voted?
I don't think we have anything, much to do since the select board has voted, but I just thinking in terms of what we have specifically jurisdiction over. I don't think that the spraying would enhance our wetlands or scenic mountains in any way. I don't think it would specifically detract from them either.
Well,
I would, for me, I would vote to opt out of it.
well, let me just throw another one at you. Isn't one of our concerns keeping things in the Berkshires accessible enough that they can be enjoyed by people outdoors?
No, it's not.
No.
Well, all right.
I don't see that anywhere in the regulations. Our
That is a
concern is,
noble,
Okay, all
noble
right.
cause.
All right,
But
then there's also nothing in the regulations about public safety, and we've been through this before
that's
because
not our purview.
you're telling me it shouldn't be considered at all, Andrew?
It's not,
just
it's
asking.
not our jurisdiction. I mean, we can consider it, but we don't have any authority over it. I mean, that's going to be health department. That's going to be other boards that have to do that. We don't have any authority. We don't have any authority over that.
I think that we deserve to at least think about things that aren't in our necessary purview when we decide on projects. I don't mean that different way of looking at something should be more important. I am not trying to say that. All I'm trying to say is that there are times that the Conservation Commission with all good intentions, throw stumbling blocks at public safety. And I'm going to give one example, and I promise I'll shut up. The redoing of Searles High School. One of the things that came up when that was permitted was no salt or sand in the parking lot. And that's my only example. That's a dangerous situation to create. Yes, you need to protect the Housatonic River, but there's also a way to do that with some kind of silt fence that stays permanently. That's all I'm trying to say, that I really feel there are times that additional thought needs to be made before we jump to the conclusion that, no, we have to do away with road salt. It's bad. I'm sorry. I really am. I don't mean to go on.
There are other alternatives, but so
Well,
just
it sounds like the moment has
just
already
as-
passed. The select board has
Yeah.
voted.
yeah,
Go
so
ahead,
we
Jeff.
don't really need to do
We don't have to
anything.
belabor it too much.
So just a sideline,
something
when
to
I
say.
was a sideline, when I was 6 years old, I had equine encephalitis.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And there were 2 kids in Connecticut who died from it at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah,
Luckily, my doctor was really on the ball.
he must have been. Because that
Now,
was,
if there were a spray for those gypsy moth caterpillars, I would take that one because I am covered in a rash.
Right. Me too. Kate, if I may, real
Go
quick.
ahead.
I'm being a little cute here, but in the interest of the natural world, if mosquitoes proliferated to their natural level of proliferation, such that people from out of town who came here to breathe the fresh air and wander around in the wilderness without getting lost, were encouraged by the mosquitoes not to be so enthusiastic about the wilderness and the woods, such that it would be lower probability that people would love the place to death. It might be a better place in the long run.
They're like speed bumps.
Yes, absolutely. Speed bump. You're very good. I like that.
All right.
But don't think that a lot of those people that have transplanted up here are not hiring companies to spray their backyards, because I
Of course
see them
they
all
are.
the time.
Yeah, and their lawns too. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
and hunt the deer down because they eat the shrubs.
Oh yeah.
I'm serious about
Oh, I
this.
know.
Oh, we
Oh, I
can't have those ugly wire
know.
things around our shrubs.
Okay, I think we're done, Kate.
Yeah,
I think
you were
that's,
cooked, that's for sure.
Well, otherwise, we're going to be criticized for the anti-tourist attitude.
No,
That's it.
hardly.
Well, it is a public meeting, Shep.
Yeah, I know.
All right, citizen speak time.
Citizens,
Or you need approval of minutes too.
oh yeah. I have not waded through all of them.
Well, I only have 3.
Um,
And one of them, I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't have to worry about that.
go ahead. Has everyone else had a chance to look at them?
I looked at them very briefly. I'm okay with them.
Okay,
Well, how
Oh.
many did the rest of you have?
We got a big email with a bunch of them.
yeah, there's like 7 or so.
No, I don't have that many. I have Wednesday, February 23rd. Wednesday, January 26th. Wednesday, November 17th. That's it.
All right, well,
So I'll happily vote on those three.
I'll
Like I
make a
said-
motion, we approve those 3 minutes.
What was that, January, February, and November?
Yep. Let's see.
And then when we get more people, we can vote on the other ones.
It's January 26th that I was absent, so you can't have me vote on that one either. Because I wasn't there.
Well, if you abstain from that one, then there's only 3 of us. Should we
Right.
take another stab at this next month?
Sure.
Maybe we
Well,
can put it at the beginning of the agenda, so we definitely.
Yeah, so we have Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case he's got to go.
Well, I guess it's
Excellent.
not gonna hurt to make it wait another month when one of them last year.
Yeah.
All right. But
And
for
you
real
will
next
have,
time.
you will have the minutes of last month by the time you get to next month. They're almost ready.
Thanks for the warning.
All right. Any citizens or other things? CPA, I'll get, just because I'm on that CPC thing, and I'll be at town meeting before our next meeting, the Mcallister. It looks like everything is set to be funded in full as requested, so
Yeah,
Mcallister and the town has some Lake Mansfield study thing. Those are the conservation related ones. Anybody, anything? Motions to close?
Make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Great.
All right.
You have to take a roll call on that, or we just say?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Well, I did get a sternly worded email from the
Right.
clerk's office. So David,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. We can close now.
unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Night, Chef.
Thank you, Kate.